All right, another thing is just be careful when you're performing integer division, right? So we know that integer division is a bit tricky, right? We know that. So if we divide 2, or let's see, 5 by 2, we know in our calculator we get 2.5, right? But when you try to divide 5 by 2 by using integer division, and an example would be something like this: so system.out.println. If we try to say, okay, print out 5 divided by 2, compile this and run, and it gives us 2. This is integer division because it's seen both operands as integers, and when it sees both operands as integers, even if the answer is supposed to give you a decimal, or decimal, because both operands are integers, it's going to recognize or see this division as an integer division, and therefore only return, or only result, or only give you the integer part of this answer, 2.5, right? So be careful when you're doing regular division, expecting numbers like 2.5. If you really want to have 2.5 displayed into your program, or basically result, or be the result of this calculation, you have to make sure at least one of these values have to be a double. So 5 has to be a double, or 2.0 has to be a double, or both of them can be doubles, right? And then when you compile this, you will see 2.5. But if both of them are integers, Java recognizes that as both operands are integers. Java recognizes that as integer division, and even if you're supposed to get a decimal or double value, it's going to be an integer. It's going to only give you the integer part of the answer. Okay, so watch out for integer division. All right, so if you also want to, let's say, perform some math, right? If you wanted to, let's say, do 2 plus 4 times 5, and you meant to calculate this first, you have to make sure you add parentheses because of the order of operation, right? If you 2 plus 4 times 5, when you compile it and you run, it gives you 22. But if you meant to, let's say, calculate the 2 plus 4 first, you have to make sure you add your parentheses, because that will give you a whole different value. If you compile this and run it, now it gives you 30, right? Just simply because you enforce 2 plus 4 first. You told the program to calculate 2 plus 4 first, before multiplying the result of 2 plus 4, okay, by 5. So just be careful with that also. And if you have a combined assignment operator, for example, if you wanted to, let's say, we know something like this. We know if we have, let's see, let's use a simple one. Or you know what? Let's create something. Let's create a complete example so you can see. So assuming you had a variable, let's say total, a double variable called total. You had a value 14 in there, and you wanted to add 1 to what's stored in total, right? You wanted to just add 1 to it without changing the value without replacing the value of total. You wanted to add 1 to what's already stored there. You can do it this way. You can say total, right, is equal to what's already stored in total plus 1. We can do it this way, or we can use combined assignment operators, right? What this means is we are taking what's already stored in total, which is 14, adding 1 to it, which becomes 15, and then storing the result 15 back into total, right? So total changes from 14 to 15. We can have a shortcut version using combined assignment operators, right? So this is the same as this. This line here is the same as what we're about to do here, which is total plus equals 1, right? We are increasing the value of total, right, by 1, right? Or basically 1 is being added to total, right? Anytime you have combined assignment operators, don't put a space in this. These have to be together, right? It's a combined assignment operator. This is basically one operator, right? If you put a space, you're separating them, right? And so when you compile this, you're going to get an error. It may look like it's correct, but anytime you have a space in there, you're going to have an error. So make sure they're always together, right? Okay, and then let's see, anytime you, let's say, calculate a value, let's say you declare an int value, right? And let's call it total, or let's say wage, int wage, right? And then we calculate the wage. We say wage is going to be equal to let's say 4 hours, right, times 9.25. You worked 4 hours this week, times you get 9.25 every hour. So 4 hours times 9.25 is how much you work this week. Each hour you get 9.25, you work 4 hours. We know this is going to result in a double variable, right? A double value. And so we need to make sure that the variable we are storing the value in, the double value in, is also declared as a double. You can't declare it as an int, right? If you wanted to store this result, we know this is going to result in a double, so we need to make sure wage is declared as a double. If you declare it as an int, you're going to get an error. When we compile this, it's going to say that. Well, first of all, we need our semicolon, right? We forgot that. Compile this. Now it's going to say possible loss of precision. It's going to say if found a double, what's required is an int, because we declared this wage as an int variable, right? So it's expecting an int, but over here it found a double. So it's saying it found a double here, but it's expecting an int here because, or it's requiring an int here because we defined this as an int. If we want this error to go away, we are declaring this as a double. So it's going to expect, this wage is going to expect a double here, and it's going to find a double here, right? So when we compile this, now this is fixed. Sorry, my phone keeps on vibrating. All right. Okay, and a few more. So anytime you have multi-line comment, make sure that you are beginning it well, or you are beginning the multi-line comment well, all right, with a forward slash and an asterisk. Okay, anything that goes in between that becomes, well, you don't need actually use asterisks, you don't need them. Anything that goes in between that becomes a comment. And when you're closing it, you have to be careful you're closing it with the right tag, right, or the right pair. So it's supposed to be an asterisk and a forward slash. Make sure it's not the other way around. If you flip this as a forward slash and an asterisk again, this is going to give you, it's going to think you're starting a whole new comment again, right? It's going to think you're not done, because this is not the proper way to terminate a multi-line comment. It's supposed to be an asterisk, and you can see all these are green. It's seeing all these as comments, right? Because you haven't properly closed it. This is not a way to properly close it well. So all these are green. It's saying, okay, you haven't closed it. So everything after this opening multi-line comment tag or pair is a comment. So you need to make sure you close it well if you mean to close it. So it's supposed to be an asterisk and a forward slash, the other way around. And now these change to black, and only the things that are in between this opening tag for or opening pair for multi-line comment and this closing pair for multi-line comment, anything in between them becomes a comment. All right, so just be careful you close that, you open and close that well. All right, and anytime you are using the J option pane or anytime you're using the scanner, be careful or be sure to have the import statement so that the program can have access to the library or the class you're trying to use, or you're trying to incorporate into your program. So anytime you want to use a scanner, for example, you want to make sure that you have your import statement. So import java.util.scanner, right? You're importing the scanner class located in the java.util package located in the Java API. Anytime you want to have use the JOption pane, we import javax.swing.joptionpane, right? Make sure you import it. Otherwise, when you try to use the methods, the program is going to say, I don't know what these are, right? You have to tell it, okay, you are trying to use the methods in this class, and you need to import it so that the program can have access to the class first before you can use the methods or the members or the things in the class. All right. So just be careful about that also. Okay. So lastly, anytime we are using the JOption pane, for example, remember we talked about the fact that the JOption pane's show input dialog method always returns a string. So if you mean to, let's say, use the value, right? If we import, right, right? Let's just show you that real quickly. Import the JavaX. If you want to use the JOption pane, dot swing dot JOption pane. And we know that the JOption pane show input dialog. Oops, sorry. My typing is really bad. I mean, it's okay, but sometimes I mess it up. If we, let's say, type in a number, we know that the JOption pane show input dialog method always returns whatever number you type as a string. I'm going to declare a variable int user number. Oops, sorry. Well, not an int, right? String user number. We know that whatever the user types over here is going to be returned as a string and stored in user number. So that's why we declared this as a string. If we really want it as a number, we have to go ahead. If, for example, if we want that number converted to an integer, we need to go ahead and use the methods in Java's wrapper classes, which we'll talk about in the future. So integer.parse int to convert whatever is stored in user number, okay, as a string to an integer. And when it's done, when this method is done converting whatever is stored in user number to a real int, we need a place to store it. So I'm going to declare an int variable here to store let's say real user number, right? Real user number. Let's call this variable real user number, which is going to store this store the content of user number, okay, as a string over here. It's a string. Yes, we are converting, or we are passing what's stored in user number to a real int and storing it in a real user number. And because it's returning, okay, this method pass int is returning an int to us, we need to make sure that this variable we declare is declared as an int. The JOption pane show input dialog method always returns a string, and so we need to make sure that this variable that's going to store that string is a string reference variable that's going to store the reference address or the memory address of that string object. Okay. All right. So these are a few of the common errors you're going to encounter unintentionally, right, when you're writing your code. And I just wanted you to see them so you can know what they are and how to fix it, or how to go about fixing it at least, or having an idea about it at least. All right. So if you have any questions, please comment down below and I'll do everything to respond to them. Thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time with the next video. All right then. Bye-bye.